Hello bellezas, welcome back to a new video. As you guys can already tell by the title, today I am going to be telling you guys 3 more legends that are based in Mexico, specifically Monterrey. So if that is something that you're interested in watching today, obviously keep on watching. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Brenda. I go by Beyond Belleza. If you would like to join my little community of bellezas, all you have to do is subscribe down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss a new video. Also, do give this video a huge thumbs up if you end up enjoying it whatsoever, because it does help out my channel way more than you know. Now with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and get right into today's spooky video. Alright guys, so as I said, I have some notes here that I wrote down for the leyendas, so just in case you guys see me look down at these at all. As I had said, these are based in Monterrey specifically, so shout out to all of my people from Monterrey. Hey y'all. Okay, so the first legend that I'm going to be telling you guys about is in regards to El Niño del Violin del Panteon del Carmen, or the violin boy from the cemetery, from the Carmen cemetery. I like flipped those two words around. But this legend basically is about a young boy named Gregorio Gonzalez, who sadly did pass away at a very young age of 13 due to tuberculosis, which was a very unforgiving disease back then. He died in 1908, so this is a really long time ago, approximately 113 years ago since Gregorio's passing. It is said that his parents, at the time before he passed away, at a very early age, they discovered that he had a great talent in music, specifically with the violin. And they gifted him a very expensive violin so he could practice that talent. They say that he played beautifully, that he was very, talented, and they just knew that he was going to be big in, this kind of music industry. And unfortunately, that never happened for him because he did pass away, as I said, in 1908 from TB. So in honor of him and his love for music, they decided to add a statue in his honor for his gravesite. So it is a statue of a boy holding a violin, and this was a very special thing for them to do because, as I said, his passion for music was a big one. So after they did this, and the parents passed and they're buried not too far from his grave, or even I think right next to it. I'm not very sure. I did not look up that specific, but it said that to this day, 113 years later, people in that area have reported hearing violin music coming from the cemetery at early hours of the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you just hear it slightly across the area in the surrounding area. This cemetery is specifically located in La Silla Rota, Monterrey, Mexico. So there are, small houses here and there in the surrounding area. And specifically, somebody in this article spoke to a man named Don Miguel, who has been a resident of the surrounding area of this cemetery for over 70 years. And he claims that he does hear the music once in a while, and he specifically told whoever interviewed him or whatever for this article, he said, quote, "It's not all the time, but I have heard the violin music at early hours of the morning," end quote. And his daughter Ernestina has said, quote, "I tell my dad that it's just the wind. I have also heard the music myself, but I refuse to believe it's from a ghost," end quote. And that's interesting to me because if she has heard the music, I guess she might have another explanation for it. Somebody in the neighborhood might play it every once in a while at night just to freak people out. Really, who knows? But the people who have heard the music say that it brings them peace, but at the same sadness and fear. because it's all very unknown, you know. If you don't believe in the paranormal, then obviously it's going to be a rational explanation, just somebody who likes to play it at all hours of the day just randomly, and they don't really know the source of it. And I would like to think that Gregorio is resting in peace and that he's not roaming this cemetery playing this music, but who knows, you know, maybe that is something that he has the privilege of doing in the afterlife. He plays for anybody who can listen once in a while, because he never got the opportunity to do that while he was alive. And you know, it's kind of a bittersweet thing to think about. It's like that he could possibly be doing this, you know, in the afterlife as a sort of a way to show his talent, even though he is no longer here. And if you believe in like reincarnation, maybe he did end up being able to play in a different life, you know, who knows. But that is it for that first legend. As I said, it's, you know, a little bit spooky if you were to hear music coming from a cemetery, especially if you were just like in the area, like let's say you were walking down the street or something. It would be very, oh my god, that honk scared me. It would be very scary to think about or to hear when you're just in the passing, unless you've lived here for a long time and that's just like something that you're used to. But me personally, if I were to walk anywhere past a cemetery, I wouldn't immediately get scared. I'd be a little bit spooked, but that would just add to my fear, just hearing violin music, especially because violin music is sometimes very like somber, very like sad melodies, so it would definitely scare me. But yeah guys, let's go ahead and move on to our next legend. Okay, so this next legend is about La Clínica 25 en Nuevo León, or Clinic 25 in Nuevo León, Monterrey. So this is a very old clinic. I did not look up exactly when it was established, but it's been around for a while. So the specific story, because there's a lot of them, so a lot of people in this hospital have said to have a lot of different paranormal stories with this clinic involved, like, you know, from staff or people who have been hospitalized there, so on and so forth. But there is a specific legend that is attached to this hospital about a nurse named Margarita. And it's said that Margarita used to work at this hospital, and she worked very, very long hours. She would spend most of her time at the hospital. She would even sleep there, and she worked so many hours that her husband ultimately ended up leaving her because he never even really got to see her throughout, you know, the days. So he would go days or weeks without seeing his wife. So ultimately he decided to leave her. It was not gonna work out for him, and unfortunately because of this, Margarita was angry with the world. She felt alone and she felt destroyed. So they say that after this happened, she started to turn on the patients, like turning her anger towards them, because in some way she felt like they were at fault for her despair. I don't really know how she connected that, because ultimately she was the one choosing to work these hours, unless the hospital was just always so packed full of sick people that she had no other choice but to work all those long hours. But anyway, she ended up turning very vengeful, and she wanted to somehow get back at these patients for destroying her life, even though, you know, they were not at fault. They're just sick people and they need help. So in her twisted mind, she decided that she was going to get back at them by administering medicine that was not supposed to be for them. So she was switching up everyone's medication. They were going to get whatever she wanted to give them. And so ultimately, from this decision of hers, it ended up costing a lot of people's lives. So patients started dropping dead left and right from the wrong medication that they were getting. So they were missing out on the medication that they needed and getting administered medication that they did not need at all. So unfortunately, they did end up dying. A lot of them did. And it said that her actions went unnoticed for over 10 years. Like, nobody found out about this until finally one of the doctors caught her in the act, giving a patient like a dose that they were not supposed to be getting that day. And he found out about this, and she immediately ran to a medicine room, locked herself in it, and she like pulled up a concoction of medicine, and then she ended up drinking it and ultimately dying from it. So she like took the cowardly way out and decided to just end her own life and then not face the consequences from her actions. After this happened, time passed and everything, and she was no longer there to harm these patients physically, and she wasn't present anymore. And that's where it ended, and people thought it was over. But according to the legend, it was not. No. She was back as a vengeful spirit. And now right here I'm going to talk about it like as if this were true, because we all believe in the paranormal here, and if you're here as a skeptic, then maybe you're in the wrong place. But there's room for everybody. Just saying that I'm going to just be talking about this as if there's solid proof that ghosts exist, okay? So it said that her vengeful spirit remained in the hospital for a while, and then ultimately like things started happening with the patients. They would start randomly like yelling and screaming, and the nurses and doctors would come in, and like nobody was there with them. They didn't really understand what was going on with the patient. Why were they yelling and screaming, and like they're terrified basically. Until one day a doctor came into a room of one of those patients that was yelling uncontrollably, and as soon as he stepped in, he saw the apparition of the nurse, and she was giving him medication. And this was very quickly, like a matter of seconds, that he saw this, made eye contact with her, and she disappeared. He described her as a very pale woman with a vintage looking nurse's outfit, or an old timey looking outfit, whatever you want to call it. And she was obviously, as he said, giving the patient medication. And as soon as he walked into the room, she was gone. She disappeared into thin air. And after that, because this was the 7th floor, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that. But after this incident, because if you guys know Mexican people, we are very superstitious. And I know a lot of different places are superstitious, so they get rid of like different numbers for buildings or whatever. So they stopped using the 7th floor as a whole. They weren't putting patients in that floor at all anymore, because since they were superstitious, they were like, there's a vengeful ghost here. We don't want any of our other patients to be harmed or be scared or whatever. So they ultimately stopped using the 7th floor. And I don't know if to this day they still don't, but I'm pretty sure things change like every year. So I really don't know, but that's what they say. And then there's another story that's told here about the 10th floor, so that we're on a different level now. So the 10th floor is about a young lady who was hospitalized because I feel like she was probably having some kind of demonic possession, and then they were just like, nah, she's just sick, let's just take her to the hospital. So they took her to the clinic, 25, and they ended up ultimately doing an exorcism on her in that hospital on the 10th floor. And after this exorcism, it is said that evil energy or bad energy was left in that floor, probably demonic. Who knows? I have never been there, so I can't really say, but they said that it is an evil sort of energy. And there's always just little things that happen here and there, and people get scared all the time. They hear voices, they feel people touching them, and so on and so forth. And the other thing that is commonly talked about on the 10th floor is that the elevator always gets called either you know, up or down, and nobody ever like steps out of it, or like nobody even calls it. It just randomly comes up or down, and the doors open, and they stay open for a long time, like an uncomfortable amount of time, because usually, you know, it's like a few, like maybe like a minute or two just for people to be able to go in. And then yeah, so the staff here says that sometimes it'll just open and then it will just remain that way for like over 5 minutes, and everyone's just kind of like, what is happening here? Like, could it be an elevator malfunction? Perhaps, but it could also be something paranormal from the other side, who knows. But that is basically the gist of it. And there's like one nurse that they talked to. Again, I don't know who wrote this article, but they talked to a nurse who has worked there for a long time too, and she says that she can confirm that these stories are real. So I don't know, I'm gonna trust Miss Girl, because I mean, I can't really say that she's lying. I wouldn't know. Yeah, that is that for the second legend. Very spooky ones. Also, because it's a hospital, and hospitals just generally creep me out no matter what, because just a lot of stuff happens in hospital. A lot of people pass away there, and not saying that all of the people that pass away there get attached to that area. I feel like for the most part, most spirits would go to where they're more comfortable, or most comfortable, so that you know, maybe they'll go back to the house they grew up in, or the house that they lived in, or you know, with their loved ones somewhere, or maybe just, you know, to the other side, whatever is on the other side after you pass away. So where was I going with that? But yeah, that is basically it. It was a very good one. I really enjoyed reading up on that one. But yeah, okay, let's move on to the third legend that I have for you guys, and the final one. I know, I'm so sorry. I don't want it to end either. Okay, so this one is called Las Aparecidas de la Curva de la Pastora. And this one is about a group of teens in the 80s who were on like a drive. Oh, I forgot to translate what that even means. That's the ghost girls of the Pastora curve. And that's the best translation that I could do. But it's basically like a road, like a curvy road, and they call it La Pastora. And this is about an apparition that people see in this specific road. Okay, I like keep forgetting to translate things. But yeah, so this is about a group of teens who were driving past this little curve, and there's two different things that I read on like some articles. One of them was that they stopped on that road, like on the side of it, and they were like messing around in the woods or something, and then two of the girls wandered off from the rest of their group. And then the other one is that they were just passing on that road that leads to like a place where people camp, and that they were camping there with their group of friends, and that the girls wandered off. So either way, they wander off. And also I think that a lot of people have different versions of it, because, you know, it's a story that's told by mouth from person to person. So ultimately it's like a whole like telephone thing where it just gets skewed along the way of people telling the story. So it could go in numerous amount of different ways, but ultimately it is about two girls who are wandering on their own in the woods, and they bump into somebody who is up to no good, basically. An evil person that decides to take advantage of this situation that was, you know, presented to him. He ended up assaulting these girls and ultimately murdering them. And so that's why they see these apparitions of these two girls on this road, because they suffered a tragic death at the hands of somebody who is unknown, I guess, to this day. I didn't look into whether this was an actual case, like if there was an actual police case on this and then they found the bodies and they were actually looking for a killer or not. I know I did some poor research on this one because I wanted to mainly focus on the legend, so I didn't get into the like nooks and crannies of the details, because that would be like a whole true crime thing on the side. So I just want to talk about what the people say specifically. So a lot of taxi drivers, bus drivers, you know, just people passing along this road say that they end up seeing two girls holding hands on the side of the curb, and then they see them disappear at the same instant that they end up seeing them. And this has been reported multiple different times, and it is a very well-known road where people go specifically trying to spot out these apparitions of the two girls that were murdered. And it is a very spooky one because I always get really creeped out about driving by myself, and then, you know, somebody comes out of the woods or something, like out onto the front of my car or something. Big personal fear of mine. You know, I got a lot of very specific fears, but that's why this one really scared me, because I was like, can you imagine just driving down a curvy road and like you're doing the, you know, wide like little turn, and then on the corner of your eye you see two girls, very like transparent. You can very clearly tell that they're apparitions or spirits, whatever you want to call it. Like, what would you even do? Like, what would you even think? Like, I think I would swerve out of the road something, because I'd be so shook. That's why when people are just like reporting this, like, yeah, I saw it too, I'm like, I don't think I could talk about it for a long time without being terrified. Another part of this specific apparition, which I feel like there's so many people that tell this sort of same story, but they say that when you look into your what do you call it? Your rear view mirror, you know, to see it? Yeah, your rear view, I guess, that you could possibly see them sitting in the back of your car. Also a big pass for me, because hell no. I'd be like, you can't just hitch a ride like that, Miss Girl. Like, you can't, you gotta ask first. That's why I was thinking about this legend a lot, because I was like, that is terrifying. Like, I could never. I would shit myself on sight. I would pull the car over. I would walk the rest of the way. I don't care. I would run. I would book it. But that one is very scary and also very sad. It's like, it was a very short one because there was really not much to it other than people driving around this road. Or sometimes they say that if you have car trouble, or if you're, you know, like you get like a flat tire and you pull over to the road, even then you'll possibly see them holding hands or something. There was one specific one of somebody who said that he saw them coming up, because it's like a curvy road, when, you know, on the other side it's just like woods and it's like a little hill. He said that he saw them walking up that hill up onto the curve, like, or the shoulder, I guess you would call it, and they were holding hands and crying, and then almost as soon as he saw them, they just disappeared, which is so scary. I hate that so much. Like, it really scares me. And now I'm gonna be scared to go to sleep, because right now it is, what time is it? It is midnight. It's 12:30, and I'm gonna be sleeping by myself. Yay! Good for me. I love doing this to myself. It is the absolute best. I love you guys. But I do it for y'all. So I really hope that you enjoyed listening to those 3 legends, because I definitely enjoyed researching them. So again, shout out to Monterrey for all of y'all's spooky legends. Y'all have the best ones. Every time that I research any of these legends or paranormal stories or whatever, it's always Monterrey. I feel like I always talk about Monterrey in these, and I try like looking up different areas of Mexico, and ultimately all of the ones that I find, it's always like Nuevo León or Jalisco, but like Monterrey and Jalisco are like the biggest ones that I am able to find. But yeah guys, as I said, I hope that you did enjoy today's video, and before I do end it, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. I appreciate you so much. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment, of course, and that's it. Now with that being said, you guys, I love you so much and appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.
Por ti mi corazón palpita, siempre he sido tu chiquita. ¿Cuántos te amos van ahorita? Yo ya perdí la cuenta. Quiero decirte que te amo.